What is happening today in the news? That is why this show exists. Thank you for choosing Speed Feed to be your way of getting the news today. We will put it all into context. We'll talk about Ruto Security being withdrawn, Raila Odinga speaking this morning, what he said and what it means. We'll also talk about a story based on the Stars reporting today about a plot to give the president powers to fire or hire his deputy. What's that all about? We'll put it all into context. Welcome to the show. Thank you so much for choosing Speedfeed to be a way of getting news today. Mr. Kilimani Tragedy is my name. How are you doing? Let me know where you're watching us from in the comments. It's always good. And also let me know, I will give you much more context of regarding our top question for today. But meanwhile, you can give me your thoughts because it's quite straightforward, isn't it? Should the president be given powers to hire or fire his deputy? There's a whole story behind that, which I will get to in a few minutes. Let's first talk about Raila Odinga, who was speaking to Kikuyu radio stations this morning in that interview. Some of the most important highlights from that interview included his take on DP Ruto being asked to resign by the president, and he cited an incident back in the 60s where his father, Jaramogi Oginga Odinga, who was the deputy or the vice president to Mzee Jomo Kenyatta, resigned because at some point they disagreed and he ended up having pretty much no role in government. And he said he cannot continue to earn a salary that is paid by the public, yet he has no official duties. And so he resigned. And so he cited that if the deputy president is a man of principle, then the right thing for him to do right now, because he disagrees with the government, is to resign. Also, on the issue of the BBI, he said that Kenyans are the ones who lost on this one. Although at this particular point, it seems to be a disagreement with the BBI proponents, because yesterday, the BBI proponents team, they said they were going to go to the Supreme Court. He already said last week that he wants to move on after this. And today he still says that he doesn't see a way that any Kenyan will be able to mobilize enough people to be able to make an amendment to the constitution. Basically, what he said is that the BBI ruling last week made it so hard because in as much as the BBI team really tried to go across the country using the resources they had, even though some of that came from the state, they still couldn't do it. So how will a common Mwananchi be able to do that? Those are his sentiments on the BBI. And other things are just some major highlights from that interview that you need to know. He also said, actually, Raila also pointed out as an incident in 1996 when he was the MP for Langata, and where he disagreed with the government on some issues, and he wrote to the Speaker of Parliament back then and resigned. He was a member of Parliament elected under Ford Kenya, but he resigned and ran for the seat again the next year with NDP and still won. So resigning from politics is not a new thing. That's basically what he was saying in regards to that. So that's Raila's interview today morning. So now you know what he talked about. Now, let's talk about DP Ruto's security being withdrawn yesterday. Not entirely. From the headline, you might think he doesn't have security, but it's just that officially what the arm of the police service is supposed to be guarding the president, the deputy president, and their families is from the GSU or the General Service Unit. But yesterday, the DPS team got an alert from the officer that commands the base that they had been given an order. This was a verbal order to withdraw from the DP's residence in Karen and also from his home in Sugoi, the GSU team. And so an AP team was deployed. And so there was a transition yesterday afternoon. It was covered. It was all over the media that now the security was transitioning from GSU to AP. And they gave a statement and said that this is a systematic effort to undermine the deputy president's security. They also cited various security breaches that the deputy president has experienced. Back in 2017, there was a gunman who went to Sugoi and injured an AP officer who was guarding the deputy president's home. And they said this is seems to be a systematic effort by the state to undermine his security. And they also wrote to the Inspector General of Police demanding an official explanation as to why that happened, because the deputy president, in as much as politically he disagrees with the president, legally he is still the deputy president and he is entitled to security, and that's based on the constitution. But then again, this is a situation here, and They are just demanding for an official explanation. But as it stands, the DP's homes in Sugoi and in Karen are being guarded by AP officers. And I just saw a funny comment from one of my friends on Facebook who asked, "How do the AP feel when their security is seen as a downgrade?" Well, anyway, but this is an unfolding story. In the next few days, we are going to know much more about this because there is no official explanation from the office of the Inspector General as to why this happened. So now let's go to our main story today, which is what I want us to talk about, and I want you to give me your thoughts on: should the president be given powers to fire or hire his deputy? Okay, so the context to this is based on the Star's headline today morning was about a plot by MPs. By MPs, I mean this whole move here has been initiated by Jeremiah Kioni. Jeremiah Kioni is the MP for Ndaragwa, and he is also the chair of the Constitutional Implementation and Oversight Committee of Parliament. So Jeremiah Kioni yesterday wrote to the Speaker of the House, informing the Speaker that he wants to create a bill that is going pretty much like a spin-off BBI bill, where the bill would create or give powers to the president to be able to hire or fire his deputy, given the context of what is already happening now between President Uhuru Kenyatta and his deputy. So this bill might just introduce that. The bill also wants to introduce the positions of Prime Minister and Deputy Prime Minister in this particular bill. At this stage, they are at a level where he just wrote a letter informing the Speaker of intention to create that bill, and so wanting to get help from the Speaker. And this was some fantastic reporting from Moses Othiambo, who's a great political reporter, and give context to this story. That also the Speaker of the House, Justin Muturi, said that he didn't get the letter, although the letter is dated yesterday's date, which was 26th of August, but yet they are yet to create this bill, but they have the intention. So today I was asking, should the president be given powers to fire or hire his deputy? All right, let me see some of your thoughts here. Paul Hidaka is just saying no. Mickey Moss is saying Kioni is a hired puppet by Uhuru, but that bill will not see the light of day in Parliament. Philip Ivo, you say yes, he should be given those powers. Shadrach Kiplangat Ngeno, we're saying no way unless regular mwananchi alalamike. Hiyo basi unless regular mwananchi alalamike, hiyo basi kotini itashughulikia. Lakini rais apana unless full reasonable reason. And so, is political disagreement a solid enough reason for the president to fire his deputy? That's again another question. Mickey Mwasi also saying, let them take away even the APs and replace them with NYS. Hustlers will guard the fifth president. These things are just meant to undermine and humiliate him to Korada. Evergreen, Eden Farm, you're just saying never about the president being given powers to fire or hire his deputy. Yeah, give me your comments. I'm reading them now. Henry Chongo, you're saying not really. We cannot allow that. Henry Colum is saying timing is wrong. The timing of this whole bill to give the president powers to hire or fire his deputy is wrong. That's what you're saying, I believe. Yeah, give me your comments now. I'm reading them. Francis Njeri is saying, do you know why we changed the constitution? Which is another point that was also brought up during the BBI ruling last week. Let's see. Felix Omondi giving us a quite elaborate comment here. He's saying the president should not be accorded the power to hire or fire his deputy. We should move away from impunity. Not towards it. The president should also be constitutionally protected and his duties outlined, so the shame that was witnessed yesterday never happens. Kioni even never voted for his running mate Mudavadi. Well, that's controversial, but okay. So much conmanship should be ignored. We should ignore Jeremiah Kioni, who wants to create a bill that will give the president those powers. Why do I keep saying fires. But the power to fire, that is what I'm saying. Kibi Terry, Larry is saying, who is Kioni in Kenya? The law is very clear. Thank you for your comments. Yes, keep them coming. I will keep reading them as we go on. Mickey was always active. Thank you for all of your comments today. You're saying they are trying to resuscitate the dead BBI. Well, they're moving to the Supreme Court at this particular point, which doesn't seem to be, they all don't seem to be reading from the same page, which is a bit confusing because Junet Mohammed, David Baweru, and Paul Mwangi yesterday came out and said they're going to go to the Supreme Court. And Raila already wrote a statement last week and said he wants to move on. Let's move on to the next thing, which is 2022 campaigns. And President Huru, on the other hand, was speaking to editors and said Kenyans lost on this one, but he didn't say exactly what he was going to do after the BBI. So that's the situation that we are in right now. So that's the story that formed our conversation for today, and I would appreciate you your comments on this one and your thoughts on this one, because it's a discussion worth having, because at the end of the day, we are the ones who are going to choose who will be in that office and how they will act while they're in that office. So let's get to some other news. This next story is very interesting. Cooking cars. What is that all about? So apparently, people here in Kenya have started adopting the technology of converting their engines to hybridize them to use both petrol and LPG gas, which is it's a technology that's in other parts of the world, but here in Kenya there's an insurance firm that put out a notice yesterday saying that if you do that to your car, then you might lose your insurance because you have done significant modification to it and they might not be able to insure your car. And I'm sure some of you are hearing this for the first time. Yes, unaweza tumia gas cooker kama gas yako kama mafuta ya gari. It is quite an interesting technology. You go on the internet and look check it out. It's actually a thing. You can convert your engine such that mafuta ikiisha unatumia gas. Not sure how safe that is. I don't think I would do it personally, but it's a thing that people are doing. It's in fact, it has raised concern to insurance companies here in Kenya, to the point that one of them said that they're not going to insure cars that do that. Anyway, in other news, yesterday, you heard about the tragedy that happened in Kilimani. This building was near the Department of Defense in Kilimani. After a 70-ton crane crashed and it killed 5 people, including 2 Chinese nationals who were working at that construction site. It's quite sad to see what happened, although there are some people who survived and they narrated that ordeal, which is really sad. But also, I have a question. Cranes, does anybody ever see how a crane is built? They just seem to appear and disappear, right? Have you ever seen a crane being constructed? You just see one and then you don't see it. Anyway, let's talk about matters security. And today, another incident still that is saddening of police just going rogue. And we'll talk about an initiative by the National Police Service Commission to address that in a second. But here, we are dealing with a story that happened in Tana River County. This is in Madogo Police Station in Tana River. So this is what happened. So there were some prison officers who, 8 of them, including their inspector, one of their fellow officers got arrested for breaking curfew the previous night. And so what did they do? The next day, they went, all of them, to this Madogo Police Station and demanded for the release of one of them, and they started firing in that police station, and there was a whole altercation between the prison officers and the regular police, and they were demanding for the release of one of them. In fact, the officers in that station, they said that this officer, the prison officer who was arrested the previous day for breaking curfew, when he was being arrested, he actually went rogue and actually injured another officer, and that's why he was booked to the police station. Again, it got me thinking, as Kenyans, we bend the rules a lot. The law seems to apply to you depending on how rich or influential you are in Kenya. So some people think curfew shouldn't apply to them even when they don't have the official certification to be out during curfew hours. And so they want to use their position to bend the laws. That's just how we've decided to live as a society. And that is why some of these things are happening. But then there's a bigger issue of mental health within the police service, and that's what we're going to talk about next, because the National Police Service Commission has actually constituted a medical board that is going to help police officers who are living with mental health problems. And the major one seems to be depression, that has pushed some of them to the extent of even shooting their colleagues, some of them assaulting and murdering their spouses. And we've seen so many cases. In fact, we were just talking about one of them yesterday. So they have established a medical board that is going to look into this, and we hope it succeeds, because the last thing you want is somebody who's struggling with mental health issues having a gun. And everyone faces these issues, and I'm hoping I can get to talk to you guys about my personal experience, maybe sometime later. But it is something serious that we all need to talk about as a society. Meanwhile, at the UON, if you're planning to join the University of Nairobi as a self-sponsored student, the fees has been hiked. Oh, I jumped the story, but anyway, that's just all you need to know. But if you're a continuing student at UON, that's not going to apply to you. Okay, so let's talk about the 6-hour robbery. So this is what happened. A matatu was leaving Nairobi to go to Naivasha, and apparently a robber. This is a very organized robbery here. One of the robbers boarded the matatu that was going to Naivasha, and somewhere between Nairobi and Naivasha at Maimaru, the robber alighted the vehicle, and apparently he had some luggage, so the driver left the vehicle to go and help him unload from the back. And that is when the robber carjacked the car, was armed, and they were taken to some remote place in Maimahiu, and they were robbed for 6 hours. They were robbed of their money, their valuables, their phones, and they also, the robbers also told them to use mobile money applications to send all the money they had. So this was a very well organized incident by this particular robbers. Which is just sad, but luckily nobody was injured or killed in this particular robbery. The last story there, it's on the Kenyan.co.ke website. Kenya Bureau of Standards is hiring people right now. Please check out this story. You might want to screenshot it or look for it with that title, Kenya Bureau of Standards. Or you can go to the website and just type KEBS. It's a fast story that will come up. So these are some of the vacancies there. I'm just hooking you up with jobs so you can check them out. Yes. Now that's it with Speedfeed and other important stories that you need to know. And you can also find more. Where, Felix? On Kenyan.co.ke, which is a fantastic website that also hosts us here on Speedfeed. Let's talk about now. Let me check out your comments on our main story for today. We're asking, based on the headline on the Star today, about a plot to give the president powers to hire or fire his deputy, and a lot of you have interesting thoughts on this. Kibiu ulikuwa unauliza who is Kioni. Of course, this whole bill here is sponsored by Ndarago MP Jeremiah Kioni. Kate Mwishenge, you were saying never. He should not be given the powers to hire or fire his deputy. Akidiva Dixon, you're saying we changed the constitution to that effect so that the president doesn't enjoy power to sack the deputy at will. The deputy slot belongs to citizens, so does the president slot, I believe. Only citizens have the power to sack both. How exactly are they going to do that? And there are two ways, actually, in the constitution that the deputy president can get out of office. Either he resigns or he is impeached by parliament. And at this particular point, it doesn't seem like any of those options are viable for the DP. Simeon Otuke on Kware Mjini unasema, if the president and his DP are not agreeing, what is supposed to happen? How will they deliver to the people? How can someone start to campaign before the expiry of their term? IEBC declares a seat vacant. Junet and Wawero adjust after our taxes. There can't be a referendum less than 12 months to the general election. And they also made an argument that even going to the Supreme Court is not really about going for a referendum. It's about the interpretation of the Constitution and wanting to make it clear, if you want to change the Constitution, how exactly are you going to go about it? Sam Morocco is saying, no, the president can be a dictator if not kept under check. We should even have laws preventing mistreatment of the deputy. Honorable Mwalimu Karanu kutoka Pipeline nasema, even the deputy governors are elected, but most of them respect their governors or they opt to resign. Furthermore, the legacy belongs to the president, but not the deputy. But not the deputy's word. It is awkward for a deputy to wish or work towards his boss's failure in order to capitalize on it during the elections, forgetting that when his or her time comes, he will demand the same from his deputy. Fair point. Give me your comments on this. You can see the description on the post up there. We're asking, should the president be given power to hire or fire their deputy? Let me read some more of your thoughts. I appreciate them. Bernard Otieno is saying, Mr. DP is misleading Kenyans. He voted no against the 2010 Constitution Amendment, and now defending it, and also against the BBI. Yes, he should. So the Bernard Otieno, you're agreeing that the president should be given power to fire his deputy. Felix Omondi is saying Kioni should be recalled by Ndaraguans. Michael Malesi is saying, why are we questioning the Constitution? Change that topic. Well, Karaoke Njenga, you're saying dictatorship. We're going to go back to the days of dictatorship. And Felix Omondi is really insisting that Jeremiah Kioni should be recalled. Gabriel Mukunzi, you're saying, I know not. And James Mukiri, you're just saying, yes, he should be given those powers. Charles Nyaundi, one of our top fans, nasema tulitoka huko na Moi. We cannot go back to the days when the president can easily fire their deputy. Thank you so much for your thoughts and comments on this. So that is it. We've put it into context. I see Gishaba Nyokabi is saying no, because they will be dictators who come to the point of a dictator. So again, there's a point of, if you're the president and you're delivering your agenda to the people, wouldn't you want your deputy to support you instead of being the one who's opposing you? Because, well, the post of the vice president or the deputy president is quite ambiguous and to a great extent around the world pretty useless to a great extent, because your work is to support your boss and to be the principal assistant to the president. And in the US, the post of the vice president is used to break a tie in the Senate. When there's a vote and there's a tie, the vice president can come in and break the tie. Otherwise, apart from that, their roles are quite ambiguous and to a great extent non-consequential. So even here in Kenya, it seems to be so to a great extent. So, but again, we have a political situation here. So it's very hard to distinguish between politics and now real matters. Well, before we close the show, let's look at Twitter, who is trending right now. Apparently, Cristiano Ronaldo is going to Manchester City, and now finally every Manchester United fan gets to bend the knee to the greatest of all time, Lionel Messi. How does that feel? Stings, right? Doesn't it? Man United fans are taking a big L on this one, and I'm here for all of it. Conjestina Acheng is trending right now. There's a story yesterday where apparently she torched her house in Gam. Something is happening with her that we should all pay attention to. Also, Mombasa Road is trending, of course, because of Felix. How do you feel about this? Is that trigger? Is it a trigger? Your road is okay. But people from Langata, they can just use the bypass. Yeah, so not a big problem for you guys. Um, well, who else is trending right now that is worth that we can talk about? Jaramogi Oginga Odinga. That name, the name of Kenya's first vice president, is trending because in the morning when Raila was talking on the radio, he did talk about how his father resigned from office because he had disagreed with the president, and he ended up playing no role at all in President Jomo Kenyatta's government. So he resigned. So he was telling DP Ruto to follow suit. Thank you so much for watching Speed Feed. It's been a fantastic week. Everything that has happened through the week. It's been quite a week, hasn't it been? Yeah. BBI on Monday, Uhuru speaking and telling DP Ruto to resign, Ruto Security being withdrawn. That's been the political week. BBI team, some of them say zima hii kitu, wengine wanasema twende Supreme Court, and nobody seems to be in agreement. Or no, some of them say just take the L and go, and others say no, we believe we should go to the highest court in the land. Quite an interesting week. So that's how we close it today on Speed Feed. We'll see you again next week on Monday. As always, we're always live between 2 and 3 p.m. on weekdays, talking about the day's news and putting it into context. Thank you so much for watching. Over the weekend, head over to Kenyan Society, of course, to catch up with the latest news. Goodbye.